better? It's a little fuzzy. Fuzzy. Okay. The enemy whose defense is fully depleted will enter a stunned state. Death blow, dealing massive damage.
Show me.
Lay waste my walls and take.
Hungry. Where's my dinner?
Oh, come on, don't kill me. Killed by a friggin'... Come on. You gotta watch out for those They got these spears. God.
You're not very good, eh?
I'm very good.
Yeah, I can tell. You just got killed.
That's how you learn. Better
By a
quality.
cartoon character.
But yeah, it's how you learn. It's not just a cartoon character.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
It's a real character with real programming.
No, it looks like a cartoon.
It's called AI.
Artificial intelligence.
That's right. They are little AIs.
Come, my wolves.
Frick, man.
We fight! Take the blood! Take the blood!
Oh, come on. Jesus. Oh, just stop doing that. I didn't even see you, prick. How did you get me, man? Didn't even see your ass. Oof, 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 oof. Son of a bitch. I lost.
We beat the Raven this day. Sonen, guide me.
You got some major gold, yeah. Okay. Where am I going? Going the wrong way.
Be my eyes, Sonen.
Odin takes the souls! We take the silver!
Alright. Where's that thing? Where's the gold? Damn it. There's supposed to be gold here.
Your time is come! Get back here and face me! I'll stage your way.
fuck? This is not easy, man. It's not flipping easy at all. That's stupid. This is not easy. This is not an easy job. I'm hungry. Where's my food? Wearing a cloak allows you to... Ah, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna the fucking... No. Calling it off. Calling it off. Going back to my...
Look! Monastery! Monastery!
Something a little easier. Come back to that.
Ready, bows! Ready, bows! Fire! Fire! Ready, bows! Ready, bows!
I don't know why I did that. Just kill the civilian. Take this one right.
What do you see, Sun?
A whole lot of nothing. What's this I see? Something pretty large, but what's it? BELL.
Beef has now fallen by nearly 42%, and the Moscow Exchange's stock trading has been shut since the 25th of February. The British government sent a clear message to Putin's regime and to those who support him in his war against Ukraine. It is important to remember, that Russia produces only a fraction of the fuel products currently imported to the UK. In a competitive global market for oil and petroleum products, demand can be met by alternative sources of supply. And as a result of international revulsion of Putin's invasion, Russian oil is already being excluded from much of the market. And currently it is trading at quite a sharp discount from other crude oil sources. But we want to go further, Madam President. Yesterday I set out that the UK is phasing out imports of Russian oil during the course of the year. This transition will give the market, it will give businesses and supply chains more than enough time to stop Russian imports. Businesses should use this year to ensure as smooth a transition as possible so that consumers will not be affected. The government will work with companies through a new task force on oil to support them to make use of this period in finding alternative supply. Yesterday, I spoke with businesses, unions and representatives from the sector, and of course, I and officials in Bays will continue to engage and support British business. While Russian imports account for 8% of total UK oil demand, the UK is also, one should remember, a significant producer of both petroleum products.
Everything is
We participate in a global market for these products,
relatively
which results in the unlikely event of supply disruption. Over the course of the year, the task force we set up will work closely with international partners,
like the beef
including
and
the USA,
cheese.
the Netherlands,
Other
and the
option.
Gulf, to
Pie
ensure
would have
effective
been more
supply
fat.
of fuel products. Last week, I addressed the International Energy Agency, and tomorrow we will have an extraordinary meeting of the G7 energy ministers to discuss further steps. Businesses should do everything they can to source oil from alternative sources. They will
I didn't mean to. No, I didn't. I gave you a fork. I gave you a little fork? Okay, well that's not a spoon. Because you're a little person.
Making up less than 4% of our supply. However, Madam Deputy Speaker, I will be exploring options to end this altogether. I want to make it clear to the House that we fully intend and we must end our dependency on all Russian hydrocarbons. In the meantime, we need more investment in North Sea oil and gas production as we make the move.
Too late, eh?
Yeah, here, hurry up, hurry up. I gotta clean it.
Go put water
Hurry
on
up.
that. Take it off right now.
Oh, just like this.
No, it's not. The grease is on
Mom,
there right
it's
now.
not.
It is.
There, it's gone. Leave me alone, please.
It's on the bottom.
Where?
Right here.
Okay, it's gone. Hey, go
The
away, leave me
grease is
alone.
there.
Oh, go away. Leave me alone.
How many times am I going to tell you?
Yeah.
The swab was a leak. You
All
got to
right.
know that.
Measure and those being taken by our allies in terms of the phase out, the oil phase out will move the West away from a dependency on Russian oil. It will take us on a road to building a stronger, more resilient British energy system. It will also increase the growing pressure on Russia's economy and will ultimately hamper Russia's ability to impose further misery on the Ukrainian people.
Madam Deputy Speaker, and can I?
Thanks to Milk, I'll never miss out on a real phone.
In 2014, Ukraine erupts into crisis, which unfolds on many levels. First in Kiev, when massive protests in the streets lead to the fall of the government and the escape of the ousted president, Viktor Yanukovych. Then the situation turns into an international crisis, as Vladimir Putin of Russia moves in special forces in uniforms without emblems and annexes Crimea, a region in Ukraine on the Black Sea. Fighting breaks out in eastern Ukraine between the Ukrainian army and rebels supported by Russia. And in July, a Malaysian airliner is shot down as it crosses eastern Ukraine with all passengers and crew killed.
Oligarchs can influence the political decisions of Vladimir Putin, not at all.
And it's said that Putin is increasingly in a bubble, that the people closest to him are security elites, and that it's hard to know what information he actually receives. What would he presumably know about the situation of the economy, and how much difference would it make to him, do you think?
Look, we all hear and see the same information from Moscow. We all hear and see that Putin is in a bunker, somewhere underground, hiding from the daylight, and making some quite strange-looking meetings with his ministers on a very long table. When Putin sitting on the one end of this table and the Minister of the Defense sitting on another end of the table, which looks quite strange. We don't really know which kind of information he gets, on which channels he is being informed. As far as we know, that the channels are very limited, so it's a very limited sources of information what he is getting. But once again, the question is now which pain and which changes the economical crash, and I would talk about the economic crash in Russia because the amount of sanctions and the strength of these sanctions are crashing Russian economy. I would ask myself to which degree is Russian society is ready to adapt to the new reality, and how will this adaptation will go along.
And how's your answer? What's your answer to that question?
I have no answer. As any Russian, we are just speechless since 2 weeks. We're just lacking words. We're just looking into the future, fearing for future, but no one has an answer because no one knows what's next. No one would expect that Russia would invade the neighboring country where so many Russians have friends and relatives, so no one would even dare to make any prognosis for the next week, and I would not do it at all, neither.
Benjamin, a recent editorial by your magazine, The Economist, pointed out that sanctions are a long game and that they inevitably involve trade-offs, saying that we could even see a rollback of globalization from the current dynamic, and that in fact could stop the process that has taken many people all over the world out of poverty. When you look at it that way, would you say that the potential benefits of these harsh sanctions that we're seeing, that they don't necessarily justify the risks?
It's hard to say. These are uncharted waters, right? I mean, we have never unleashed sanctions like that, as Vladimir says. What we did, in 2014-15 is nothing compared to what we are doing now. In particular, now that the US is stopping imports of gas and oil from Russia, as I mentioned, the SWIFT, the international payment system. I mean, everything that we announced in the last year, it will crush the Russian economy. I mean, forecasts are that GDP will go down by 35% this year, in the second quarter, and by 7% for the entire year. That's a lot. That's worse than the financial crisis in 2008. And Vladimir was saying, we don't really feel it yet, but very soon, in particular, the Russian middle class will feel, the effect very, very painfully.
There will not be any middle class left. Sorry to interrupt you. There will be no such Russian middle class left. There will be all, the country will decrease and fall in the poverty on a very huge basis. So I would not talk about any middle class in Russia.
Let us look at the calls now to ratchet up pressure even further. The U.S. this week cut off its oil imports from Russia. Let's hear why.
Today I'm announcing the United States is targeting the main artery of Russia's economy. We're banning all imports of Russian oil and gas and energy. That means Russian oil will no longer be acceptable at U.S. ports, and the American people will deal another powerful blow to the food economy. Americans have rallied support for the Ukrainian people and made it clear we will not be part of subsidizing the war.
Katya, calls for Europe to follow
that's a
suit
first.
are in fact growing louder. Now here in Germany, one of the first actions that were taken by the government was to suspend operation of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, bringing Russian gas straight to Germany. But that wasn't in operation yet.
Exactly.
So did that really make any difference?
It was an important political step because it gave the signal that there is a real turn in German policy towards Russia, but with no effect on our, on the deliveries of gas and oil. What we see, though, that the market reacts also to President Biden's announcement. Gas prices are skyrocketing. We pay more than €2 per liter of gasoline already. And there certainly is the political fear of social unrest if prices would soar, if we would suspend Nord Stream 1. And this is the discussion we are facing now.
By the way, Putin himself has talked about shutting down Nord Stream 1, of course, being the other pipeline that brings gas to Europe. What likelihood do you think there is that we are going to see a cutoff of gas supply in Europe, either from one side or the other?
Very much depends, I think, on the situation on the ground in Ukraine, how the war is going on, and what Putin is ready to do or not to do. The pressure, the political pressure, the moral pressure in the very end will go up if he doesn't stop or if there's no solution to be found. And in the very end, it comes down to the very simple question: we cannot do nothing.
Okay, then we're going to drill deeper on that point. But let me ask Wendelin to tell us a little bit about what these soaring oil prices mean in the way of pain, for example, in the U.S. And I'm talking about political as well as economic pain. The U.S. is a country very dependent on the automobile.
You are right, and in that sense, I admire President Biden for taking that step because it may hurt him politically. You know, the gas prices are, price for petrol are going up a lot, and that's not popular. I mean, he will try to compensate for it, right? I mean, I've with the United Arab Emirates, with lots of countries that can increase their production of oil, but you cannot make up for it so quickly. The US gets about 10% of its oil from Russia, so it's substantial, but it's not as much as the European Union, which is about a quarter.
Right. Talk to us about that part of it. Europe is far more dependent on Russian gas than the U.S. is dependent on Russian oil. So what would happen if Europe were to follow the U.S. example?
It's very hard to imagine because Europe imports 40% of its gas, of its natural gas from Russia, and a quarter, 25% of its oil. To just cut that off from one day to the other, I'm not entirely sure how that could work. Okay, now the coldest months are over, so maybe over the summer we could find alternative routes, more LNG.
That's what the EU Commission says. It says it has built up now additional reserves, fearing what could happen, and that they will get us through the summer. But
yes, but there's the winter coming, and the winter might be harsh. I think it is probably possible, but it will be very hard.
Vladimir, two questions to you, starting with the effect on Russia. So you've told us the effects that the sanctions so far, the impact that you're seeing. What would happen if Europe were now to say, we're cutting off gas?
Look, I think it's just too early to talk about it because the goal of the sanctions is not to punish Russia as a goal, but to stop this war. And as soon as this war will be stopped, should be taken step by step. So I think we are talking now long term, like end of this year about cut off of Russian gas and oil deliveries to Europe. But it could be that the war will be stopped much earlier, in the next weeks or months. So the whole topic of cutting Russian oil and gas deliveries to Europe in the end of this year might be not anymore still.
Let me ask you this, because you know, of course, Germany, Europe very well. What's your reading of public opinion here? Do you think people here would withstand the hardship that a gas cutoff from European side potentially would cause, meaning cold houses, possibly having to go without other things, comfort?
I'm so busy to digest what the people in the Ukraine just doing and what hardship the people in the Ukraine experiencing right now. There is no cold houses in the Ukraine. The houses are being destroyed. There is no discomfort like $2 per gallon gas on benzene and diesel. It's just blown. The tank stations are being on fire. The whole city in the Ukraine is on fire. So I'm just struggling to talk about the hardships in Europe compared to the hardships which Ukrainian people suffering right now.
Let me tell you, let me ask you, when you say that, does that mean you think that this back door that the EU left open in its sanctions package, allowing energy deliveries to continue, do you think that should be shut?
What we're seeing right now, that Russia, since the beginning of the called special military operation in Ukraine, Russia is increasing gas deliveries through the Yamal Europa pipeline. So the whole issue with the decreasing Russian deliveries in the last months before the special military operation in the Russian boarding, now Russia sending more and more gas to Europe. It might be a signal from the Russian government that Russia is ready to deliver more gas to Europe. It's a very interesting signal. It's not being talked much about it, but I'm reading this on the Russian news that the Gazprom sending more gas to Europe via this pipeline.
Let me just add, if I might, two very quick points. The first one is German politics and German society, which has shown real solidarity with the Ukrainian people and the fate of the Ukrainian people so far. And former federal president Joachim Gauck yesterday said it might be worth freezing a little for freedom. So this is a discussion we will face in our country, and then there's, in my eyes, the very important political sign from the European Union, including Germany, to finally get independent of Russian oil, at least oil and gas deliveries, and thereby also showing that the old mantra of, change through trade, Wandel durch Handel in German, that this was fiction in respect to Putin.
I want to take us back to the global situation, because that, of course, was part of the title of our show. And when it comes to hardship, shortages of a very different commodity could spark an even greater global crisis. Ukraine is the world's fifth largest wheat exporter. Planting season is beginning, but many farmers are at war.
In war-torn Yemen, the wheat reserves will last for another couple of months, according to the government. But many, like here in the capital city of Sana'a, worry about the rising prices for flour. The Ukrainian-Russian war will affect the whole world, and not just us. This war will affect import, export, and trade, because we are importers of wheat, and most of the foodstuffs are from abroad, so undoubtedly we will be affected. Lebanon says it has wheat reserves for just one more month. The country's largest silos were destroyed in an explosion in Beirut in 2020. The country depends on wheat imports, with 60% coming from Ukraine.
Fuck.
Turkey depends on wheat imports from Russia. The country is in the midst of an economic crisis with sky-high inflation. There have been massive protests over rising food prices. Many Turks fear that the war will make matters worse, and basic food items even more expensive.
We need to get back to a balance. Bullshit. Somebody ought to pop this Putin in the head. It's creating way too much havoc.
Helped pave the way for the Second World War.
Fuck.
Could we see a similar collapse of the global economy this time around, or is this time?
lives of millions of people in some way or another disparaged. You disparaged in one way or another about 1 million people.
We will see a spike in the price of wheat. We're already seeing that, and that's a big problem because and there are not many alternatives at the moment to Ukrainian and Russian wheat. But I hope we are not headed for the 1930s again.
And Vladimir, to you, because you told us it's hard to look as far down the road as the end of this year, but you seemed to imply that you see chances for the war to end before the world have an influence. None of the peace talks that we're seeing so far are delivering results.
But Russia cannot afford this war to take place like for 1 or 2 months anymore, because Russia in 2 weeks didn't achieve the military goals on the ground. There is a growing sense of fears in the Russian society about the young soldiers who are obviously being killed in the Ukraine or taken prisoners in the Ukraine. So it's a very urgent sense of emergency in the Russian society, spreading more and more. And for economic situation in Russia will be in 2, 3, 4 weeks or 2 or 3 months on such crisis situation that Russia will be pushed to stop this war somehow.
Katya, our title asks whether sanctions will cripple the global economy. Is there a risk that the war could, in general, could cripple the global economy to the point that it creates more instability rather than less?
I very much hope that financial institutions and political leaders are more up to the task now. I could also hope and imagine when it comes to the economical consequences for a country like China, that China and Putin's new friend and strategic partner Xi Jinping would weigh in.
Thank you very much. Thanks to all of you for being with us, and thanks to our viewers for tuning in. See you soon.
Why do I give a shit about the weather? I don't know. It's what?
Big cup with potatoes. That's the future.
Leaving as fast as they can, people fled the northeastern city of Sumy, trying to get out before nightfall when a ceasefire ends. The night before, airstrikes hit residential buildings and a power plant. Local authorities said 21 people were killed. Further west, people fleeing the city of Irpin, close to the capital Kyiv, crossing a damaged bridge that Russian troops have repeatedly fired on as civilians try to get across. Heartbreaking goodbye as many of the men split up from their families to go back and fight.
Oh, God.
Others helping those unable to make the journey by themselves. We are fleeing. She is barely walking, but we are doing our best. Thank
Jesus.
It is good that we could cross the bridge. Bombs are exploding over there, quite intense. Irpin is totally damaged.
Oh, this poor old woman. Look at that.
Meanwhile, in the capital, President Volodymyr Zelensky refusing to flee. A video message to his people, trying to prepare them for the days to come. Snow is falling. This is spring. The war is the same as spring. Severe. But it will be all right. We will win anyway. Military analysts say the Russian onslaught will likely get worse in the coming days. Russian forces are increasingly turning to shelling civilian areas and infrastructure, while their tanks and troops are bogged down outside key cities. In the port city of Odessa, residents are mounting barricades in front of the beloved Opera House. So far, the city hasn't been hit, but if the experience of the last several days is any guide, anyone who stays behind should be prepared for the worst.
Let's go to our correspondent Matthias Berlinger in Kiev. Matthias, what's the situation this morning in the capital?
It's, as always, very calm in the capital. Still, the fighting is limited to those suburbs that you mentioned, Irpin and Bucha and the area around that airport, and also troops are advancing from the east, but the city center has so far been spared of heavy fighting, and also mostly, not completely, but mostly of heavy bombing. The city is still open. It's still possible to leave the city and to get into the city, and supplies are still getting into the city. So life is tense here, but still possible.
Many civilians have been rescued from the besieged city of Sumy. What about Mariupol in the south?
That looks a lot worse than Sumy. Sumy is already quite bad, and many people have died there as well trying to escape the city. But Mariupol is very dire. It's completely surrounded. It's been completely surrounded for more than a week now, and electricity has been cut. Water supplies have been cut. We've seen pictures of children dying of dehydration, and supplies are running low. People are trying to survive on what's left there. It's very dire.
Matthias, can you give us an idea of where we're at in this battle? As I mentioned before, Ukraine's army says it's managed to slow the advance of Russian forces, which are suffering major setbacks.
It depends on what you see as how you measure it. The idea of the Russian army seems to have been to take Kiev quickly and then have the government surrender and take control of the country. That has clearly not worked. Resistance has been fierce to this Russian advance. The Ukrainian army has been able to destroy a lot of Russian military technology, and also many Russian soldiers have died or have been captured. So they have the Russian army has considerable losses, but there is it's also very clear that the Russian army is outnumbering the Ukrainians. They have more supplies that they can bring in. So this is now a battle of two armies wearing each other out. This is what it is about, and whether Ukraine can continue to resist the Russian army will of course depend on its supplies, on the morale, which is still very high, and Russia is advancing, but very slowly.
Matthias Berlinger, appreciate the update. Thank you very much. Maria Avdiva lives in Kharkiv and works at the European Expert Association, focusing on Ukrainian relations with the EU and NATO. Firstly, could you tell us about your personal situation this morning and how bad the destruction is in Kharkiv?
I'm staying in Kharkiv, and every day I try to go out on the streets to show the world what is happening in Kharkiv, because we see that Russian media tries to show a very different picture, and they try to hide what is actually happening in this city and call this Russian war here a special military operation. So I go around and take videos and photos to have these evidences of the war crimes committed here in Kharkiv. There are major destructions in the city center because it was heavily bombarded, and some of the historical buildings are completely destroyed, as the main administrative building, which was the symbol of Kharkiv, and also the residential areas are destroyed, and I can see that the pipelines and the energy is off, so there is no water there, and the buildings stay completely without the windows, no people around, because they apparently have left already. They do not have any place to live anymore, and it is very strange and terrifying to see Kharkiv like this, because it is a big, huge 1.5 million city, and it's always was very lively with many people outside, and now you will see only long lines of people standing in front of the shops where they are trying to get some food.
You mentioned the water being cut off there. What's the supply situation like? How much longer can you hold out?
It depends on the region, on the district. In Kharkiv, so the districts that were heavily bombarded, they are cut off the supplies and the infrastructure. But those where still no bombardment. For example, in my home, I still do have everything. Happily, still have electricity and water and heating. But of course, we understand that at some point Russia will continue trying to destroy the critical infrastructure for the city, because they will probably try to encircle Kharkiv at one moment when they regroup and get more forces, because for now it looks like the Putin plan didn't work out, and now they're taking some time to get more resources because Ukraine is fighting very effectively on the ground at the moment.
Oh, it is it?
Humanitarian corridors that are said to be in effect in Kharkiv and other Ukrainian cities, according to Russia. Can you confirm that?
I haven't witnessed that myself. I was on the street yesterday during the day, and I continuously heard the shelling and the explosions here and there, and I saw that the cities of Chuguyev and Izum are in critical situation because Russian forces are blockading them, the small towns outside of Kharkiv, and do not give any possibility to supply there something and to get people out of here. So I really doubt that there is any kind of such corridor, and we have seen these maps of Russia that Russian MOD has distributed, showing the ways to evacuate people to Russia and Belarus, and this is nonsense which will never happen here, because it is not possible situation. Russians are here to kill Ukrainians, and now they propose Ukrainian people to flee to Russia, and we all here are very well aware of the Soviet-style tactics when they had taken the large numbers of people from Ukraine and transport them to Siberia or some other places in Russia.
Maria Avdieva for us there from the European Expert Association, which focuses on Ukrainian relations with the EU and NATO. Thank you for joining us here on DW.
Thank you.
The thousands of people escaping the fighting that streamed into the western Ukrainian city of Lviv, it's become a massive bottleneck, the only direction to flee being west. DW correspondent Alexander Naman met up with some of them.
We are here at the railway station in Lviv, and you can see how busy it is here, with long lines of people trying to get on a train to the Polish border. Mothers with their small kids, women with their pets, with hastily packed suitcases and plastic bags. Many of them seem to be traumatized. Many of them are worried sick about the loved ones that they left behind.
Мы из Харькова. We're from Kharkiv. The city is gone.
Города нет. Вопрос у меня. Кому это нужно?
I just
You
have
get
one
dessert
question.
still,
What
huh?
was it all for? Who benefits from destroying such a beautiful city? We once had a wonderful mayor. He's now turning over in his grave. You can't look at that's left of the city without crying. I was born there. I grew up there. I spent my whole life there.
У меня вся жизнь, мне 50 лет, у меня вся жизнь там прошла, понимаете? Люди просто...
People there now have been left for dead. They're hiding in basements. I can't even think about it.
They're sitting there without any electricity, water, or heating. My mother's hiding in the cellar. Her mother is in Mariupol. She can't get hold of her.
I haven't heard anything from her since March 2nd.
Never would I have expected something like this to happen, especially from Russia and Belarus. I have so many relatives in Moscow. According to the city authorities, it is becoming increasingly difficult to provide all the refugees with food and clothes, and first and foremost with a place to stay. That is why many people here are desperate to get out, even though they don't know whether they will be able to come back.
Hey, buddy.
I don't know. I never thought I'd have to flee.
I don't know where we will go. Whatever God's plan is, certainly to Poland.
We are not leaving forever. We'll be back for sure.
Many of the people we met are originally from the Russian-speaking part of the country. They told us they would never expect Russia to attack Ukraine. They are angry and sad, and some of them have a clear message to Vladimir Putin.
I don't understand why you are against our membership in the EU and are now literally pushing us towards Europe. Thank you very much. But please, it cannot come at the cost of our lives and those of Russians, only in a peaceful way.
Honestly, I think Putin knows he is sick and will die soon. And he wants to take as many people with him as possible. We live in the 21st century. We don't live in the 20th century anymore. During the Second World War, we're civilized people. But how civilized is it for the whole of Ukraine to leave Ukraine? Well done. You have liberated us. Thank you.
The United Nations says more than 2 million people have now fled the conflict in Ukraine into neighboring countries. French firefighters are among those on the Polish-Ukrainian border helping the refugees. They say most of the people arriving there are traumatized and exhausted. Efforts are underway to set up makeshift hospitals in the region to care for the new arrivals. Volunteer Michael Heckmart has been setting up those operating tents on the Polish border and has witnessed the huge wave of refugees. Good to see you, Michael. As I mentioned there, 2 million Ukrainians have fled, at least half into Poland. Have you ever seen anything like it?
I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. I didn't expect it to be that huge and that big. People who come to the border often walk for 20 or more kilometers because most of them are brought there by private buses, and the drivers are fit for the army, so they can't really do exactly. They go on foot. I haven't seen a 5-kilometer line of people waiting for the passport control ever in my life. The tricky part is that on the Ukrainian side of the border, there is barely any light. It's dark, it's super cold, and these people stand there for about 7 to 10 hours waiting to get to Poland, where they'll be helped and where they'll be safe.
And what sort of a state are they in when they arrive? I know you've been setting up these tents to help them. What sort of a state are they in?
I helped setting up medical tents in the humanitarian aid point at Szczecinie. They're mostly traumatized. Hypothermia is probably the most the state that they're in. Children are tired. Women give birth. Stress-induced labor is very common, and cardiac arrest as well. So, but above all, they don't really know where they are and how long it is going to take them to cross the border. So we try to inform them as much as possible, calm them down, and take care of them by distributing food and drinks which they can consume standing outside.
And I guess a lot of them don't know where they're going. How do you decide where to go?
Well, the first thing is that when they arrive in Poland, the Polish border control is very well organized, and there are buses provided by the firefighters which bring them to the reception point in Przemyśl, which is a town 20 kilometers away from the border. And at that point, they are able to get food, they're able to shower, they're able to take a rest, they're able to sleep there. And there are private cars, and people are welcoming them at their homes and all over Poland, basically. So there's this center which connects drivers and hosts with refugees. So far, there hasn't been a need to set up any refugee camp in Poland, even though over 1 million people crossed the border.
And what about psychological help for these people? What have they been telling you about their journey across Europe's biggest country with a war going on around them?
I've been escorting a couple of families with small children from Kiev through the border. We also managed to drive a bus through the border full of children through the border ourselves as in volunteers. And they're all scared. They're all scared of helicopters, of airplanes. They're scared of bombs. They're scared of death, basically. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to comfort them. I'm not a trained psychologist, but there are people helping them in Przemyśl and Poland on the reception at the reception point.
Michael Hetman, one of the volunteers helping refugees arriving from Ukraine. Thank you very much for giving us this insight into the conflict. Thank you. Look now at some other developments in the war. Police in the Russian city of St. Petersburg have detained a group of women protesting against the invasion of Ukraine. They were holding up posters which can get you arrested, appalled about the deaths of Russian soldiers. Moscow has passed tough penalties for speaking out against the military.
15 years.
Credit rating agency Fitch has downgraded Russian debt by 6 notches to C, saying that a default is imminent. The agency says sanctions and trade restrictions could undermine Russia's willingness to service its debt. The Western measures have thrown the country's financial markets into turmoil following its invasion of Ukraine. The United States has dismissed an offer by Poland to send its fleet of MiG-29 fighter jets to Ukraine. Warsaw intended to give the Soviet-era aircraft to Washington for use by the Ukrainian military. The Pentagon was concerned that Russia could view the three-way deal as a hostile move. But U.S. President Joe Biden has announced a ban on Russian oil imports in response to the invasion. It comes as the United States struggles with rising fuel prices and inflation. The U.S. imports only a small percentage of its oil from Russia, but the ban is expected to push oil prices even higher. Here's what President Biden had to say.
Today, I'm announcing the United States is targeting the main artery of Russia's economy. We're banning all imports of Russian oil and gas and energy. That means Russian oil will no longer be acceptable at U.S. ports, and the American people will deal another powerful blow to Putin's war machine. This is a move that has strong bipartisan support in Congress and, I believe, in the country. Americans have rallied to support the Ukrainian people and made it clear we will not be part of subsidizing Putin's war.
In this more reluctant to cut itself off from Russian energy, Brussels has laid out a plan to drastically reduce imports by the end of the year and cut them entirely by 2030. Getting there won't be easy, with tensions between Russia and the EU escalating over the Ukraine invasion. It may have to come much sooner.
Russia is now openly threatening to cut off gas supplies to Europe completely. This would lead to enormous bottlenecks for the entire EU. Gas is primarily used to heat homes, in ovens in production processes, in power plants to produce electricity. A sudden supply stop would push up energy prices dramatically. Prices for oil and gas have already risen steeply. Consumers are feeling the pressure at the petrol pumps and on their gas bills. Before the Russian attack, a megawatt hour of gas cost 69 euros, already more expensive than consumers were used to. Since then, in just 2 weeks, the price of the EEX energy exchange has rocked to a record high of 335 euros. And the outlook is uncertain. No one knows whether Russia will make good on its threat and turn off the tap completely. The EU now wants to completely become independent of Russia. Repower EU is the name of its new strategy. At its core, diversifying energy suppliers and drawing more from renewable sources like solar and biogas.
Renewables give us the freedom to choose an energy source that is clean, cheap, reliable, and ours. And instead of continuing to fund fossil fuel imports and fund Russian oligarchs, renewables create new jobs here in Europe.
The EU wants to replace 2/3 of Russian gas imports by the end of the year, an ambitious target.
This will end our over-dependency and give us much-needed room to maneuver. 2/3 by the end of this year. It's hard, bloody hard, but it's possible if we're willing to go further and faster than we've done before.
The EU already has plans for its energy transition, but the war in Ukraine has officials startled, forcing them to make the switch far faster than previously thought possible.
The refugee exodus is seeing thousands of Ukrainians arrive here in Berlin every day. It's caught the capital off guard and is pushing resources to the limit. Berlin says it can't cope alone and has appealed for help from other parts of the country.
Safe at last, far from the war. The Ukrainian refugees at this shelter arrived in Berlin a few days ago. Traumatized and exhausted, very few were willing to talk to us. One woman from the besieged city of Kharkiv told us she finally managed to get some sleep after arriving here. She can't hold back her tears. My sister is still there. She lives in an apartment block on the 8th floor. She told me she'll never leave. She'd rather die there. Bombs and missiles are raining down on the city. About 140 people have found temporary shelter here. They're being cared for, in part by an NGO that operates shelters like these. Its manager tells us time is of the essence in this crisis. I got a call at 3 a.m. on Sunday morning to say that people would be moving in today. My colleagues work like crazy, in constant shifts, to get everything ready. 2 buses arrived carrying refugees in the course of the day, and we thought that was it. But by evening, another bus pulled up to our door with no advance notice. After arriving at Berlin's central train station, people are taken to their accommodation. More than 10,000 refugees from Ukraine are arriving every day. The city has sounded the alarm, saying it can't cope. Germany's interior minister has promised to help. We are evaluating how to provide refugees from the war zones with a place to stay in Germany. Naturally, they can't all stay in Berlin. The city can't cope on its own.
Fuck, they all drove to Germany. You know, there are other places in Europe you can drove to. You don't have to pick the best economy. They don't deserve to. No. Send them somewhere else.
It will take time to settle refugees across Germany. Until then, Berlin will have to continue rolling out the help for new arrivals.
This is DW News Live from Berlin. I'm Ben Fazula. Thanks for watching. I'll leave you with some pictures taken by photographers on the ground in Ukraine, where the humanitarian crisis is worsening for people across the country.
Tim made a good choice with those seats and getting his COVID-19 booster.
This is Sky News Tonight, live in Kiev for a special program on the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The battle for Kiev, buildings hit by missile strikes as Russian forces approach the capital. Queues for weapons as residents take up arms and the government tells them to make firebombs. And the desperate attempts to flee, with thousands of people heading for Ukraine's western borders. Outside the capital, Russia's onslaught continues with hundreds more attacks right across the country. In Moscow, Vladimir Putin claims he's ready to negotiate, but tells Ukraine's military to seize power. And NATO bolsters its flank, deploying combat-ready troops to its eastern borders and sending air defenses to Ukraine.
Putin's getting beat up.
Good evening from Kiev, where residents have taken up arms with Russian forces just a few miles outside the city centre. The mayor of Kiev says the city has now entered a defensive phase, with civilians being urged to make Molotov cocktails and take on invading troops. Across the country, there have been hundreds of attacks today, and thousands of people have fled the violence. Russian troops made their way towards Kiev in a column of military vehicles entering Ukraine from Belarus. The Russian military then made their way through, past the former nuclear power station at Chernobyl, the shortest route to the capital here. Tanks were later spotted in Ukraine's capital, with authorities telling residents to stay off the streets due to active hostility. Our first report tonight comes from Sky's chief correspondent, Stuart Ramsey.
Under no doubt, this European capital is fast turning into a battlefield. There are troops on street corners and under bridges. Armoured vehicles constantly crisscross the city, bolstering positions, waiting for the enemy. The Ukrainian military are fighting, but they will struggle to hold on. Tanks, APCs and trucks maneuver beneath the road arches. They're attempting to shield themselves from attack from the skies, holding on until the Russian infantry and paratroopers attempt to get further into Kiev by road and on foot. Well, that's the expectation anyway. There's been a huge exodus from the city. Those left behind attempt to thumb lifts, heading west. Others stop passing cars and ask if they're heading their way. More often than not, it's a fruitless hope. The air raid sirens are irregular now. It's scary stuff. With their belongings, they try to hurry off the streets. Most head for the metro stations, trying to get underground. Mums and dads and their little ones, trying to find safety. They can't find a way out. Everyone feels exposed. Everyone feels vulnerable.
Well, that's a haunting sound of the air raid sirens. We're pushing people into taking cover. We've heard a crump of an explosion. Like this all over the city now. There's APCs up here.
Exactly where and when the Russians may attack a new target remains unknown, of course, so there's constant movement. Much of the city is now deserted. Hardly any people in the centre of town, just a few cars driving between homes or looking for a few shops that are still open. And on the streets as well, civilian militia, armed and ready to support the army. Huge explosions woke everyone in Kiev as the Russian mission continues. Fiery debris falling onto residential buildings below. This is life in Kiev now, the country's president making exactly that point.
When bombs fall on Kiev, it happens in Europe, not just in Ukraine. When missiles kill our people, it is the death of Europeans. I demand greater security for Europe, greater protection for Ukraine as part of a democratic world.
Many of the Ukrainian soldiers are very young and inexperienced. 21-year-old Sergei Petroshenko is the only soldier guarding a footbridge. He has fired 16 rounds in his life. Now, He waits for the Russians. His home village has already fallen.
There are Russian base in my village. And from my village they're gonna go here on Kyiv to capture it. Yeah, it's really scary, terrifying. I called to my parents. They really scared. There's Russians in our village, enemies. There's tanks, heavy vehicle. I hope that they will be fine.
In their thousands, they descended onto the central railway station to try to get seats on any trains west. It was chaotic and desperate. That's what it's like here now. The fear of the unknown is what's so difficult for everyone. Ukraine holds its breath while the world watches on. Sky News, Kiev.
Well, of course, it's not just here in Kiev. There's intense fighting all over the country as Russian troops advance from the north, from the south, and the east. And in the face of the threat from their much better equipped neighbour, Ukrainians have been using whatever means they can to defend themselves. Sky's security and defence editor Deborah Haynes reports now on the military tactics being employed by both sides.
Lives turned upside down. This was the door to a balcony that no longer exists. Valentina was sleeping here when the explosion happened. She and her teenage daughter are lucky to be alive.
Да, я сплю. Вот это вот оно все пролетело, я не знаю, как я жива осталась, кому не знаю. Наверное, Путин, кто виноват. Они же начали это.
Residents and pets in this neighbourhood in eastern Kyiv left stunned as the reality of Russia's invasion hit home. They're unclear what caused the crater, with one man suggesting it happened after Ukraine's air defences intercepted an incoming Russian airstrike. The worse the fighting gets, the greater the risk becomes for civilians of getting caught in the middle. Residents at this apartment block described how they were woken up at between 4:30 in the morning by a loud explosion. They said the night sky lit up like daylight, and when dawn broke, they found this devastation. Invading troops, identifiable by the Z, are attacking from the north, east and south. The plan seems to be to take control of the southern coastline, such as here in Kherson, and push into the east. This, Ukraine's second city of Kharkiv, under heavy bombardment. Terrifying for residents and challenging for Ukraine's military as other Russian forces close in on the capital. A battle for this airfield in the northwest of Kiev, finally won by Russian troops after heavy fighting. A sign of things to come, perhaps. Russia's president called on Ukrainian forces effectively to switch allegiances, using false smears about Ukraine's leaders.
Еще раз обращаюсь к военнослужащим вооруженных сил Украины. Не позволяйте неонацистам и бендеровцам использовать ваших детей, ваших жен и стариков в качестве живого щита.
Watch the apparent Russian military vehicle crush a car in the north of the capital. The driver lucky to escape. Yet Russia is suffering losses too. This aircraft was shot down over Kiev by Ukrainian forces.
Our assessment as of this morning is that Russia has not taken any of its major objectives. In fact, it is behind its hoped-for timetable. They've lost over 450 personnel, and indeed, as you said on your report, one of the significant airports they were trying to capture with their elite Spetsnaz has failed to be taken, and in fact the Ukrainians have taken it back.
But this isn't just a conventional war. Listen to the gunfight at this security office in the southern city of Melitopol as it's attacked by soldiers who don't have obvious markings on their uniform. Russian special forces are thought to be on the ground conducting sabotage missions. The ultimate goal, to topple the president here on Friday, rallying his people.
Громадяни суспільства, ми тут захищаємо нашу незалежність, нашу державу. І так буде далі. Слава нашим захисникам, слава нашим захисницям, слава Україні.
Solomon handed weapons and urged to fight. A sign of desperation, but also of the prospect of a grinding guerrilla war that could, in the end, cost Russia dearly too. Sky News Kiev.
Meanwhile, in the south of this country, Russian attacks have spread along Ukraine's coastline throughout the day. Both Crimea and the Donbass regions have been entry points for Russian troops to make their way into Ukraine. The two areas are already hosting large numbers of troops before the full invasion. It appears Russia wants to close off Ukraine's access to the Black Sea, which could have a severe impact on supply routes. Sky correspondent Alex Rossi reports now from Mariupol.
Been an horrific 24 hours. The hospital directors take me to see soldiers injured on the Eastern Front. Staff Lieutenant Andrei was lacerated with shrapnel. He's heavily medicated, but says as soon as he's recovered, he wants to fight again.
Попали под минометный обстрел, первые приняли удар на себя, после чего заняли свои места в окопе, понимаем, что получили ранения, видели, что проезжает мимо скорая помощь, решили не сильно нервствовать, решили, что немножко нас подлечили.
In another room, Vadim has just come out of surgery. Dr. Alexei says he expects to see many more blast injuries in the days to come.
God. Wake up. Hey, Bobby, can I wake up? Can you wake me up, please?
Надеемся, сегодня саммит НАТО или что там, может быть, они примут решение какое-то. Может, усадят его за стол переговоров, может, остановят стрельбу, переговорный процесс. Но мы делаем свою работу. Мы должны оказывать помощь, они должны защищать, а мы круглые сутки тут ждем, оперируем, помогаем, делаем свою работу.
But it's unlikely any help will arrive. Mariupol, like the rest of the country, is besieged and on its own. The people here are exhausted. They stay inside unless they need supplies. But after years of fighting, they're inured to the sound of war. Most don't even flinch when the shells start flying.
We're on the outskirts of Mariupol in the Eastern District. The front lines are over in that direction. We've been listening to the sound of a very heavy artillery battle. It's hard to say exactly how far it is away, but it sounds as though Russian forces are getting now much closer to the city.
And as fear hovers over this place, a steady stream of evacuees are getting out whilst they can. This man's putting his wife and daughter on the train to safety before he goes back in the army.
Я раніше воював і військово підготовлений. Я чую свою зобов'язаність просто воювати. Ну, подальше, як країна прикаже.
Many families will be separated in the days to come, and with the Russian invasion battering every corner of this country, there will be many more tears. Rossi, Sky News, Mariupol.
Right, let's try to find out what is happening right now. Our chief correspondent Stuart Ramsey.
Yeah. What the fuck? Oh, Mom, turn that light off. No, yeah, it is. No, I put it. No, he's there. He's not eating. I put him there. No, he was up top, and I put him down below to where his house was.
Well, this is not where his house is.
I know, but he jumped there. No, he's not eating.
Just give him a little.
Yeah, leave the lights off.
It's fine right now, Rob.
Yeah, but I think with the lights.
Rob, it's only 20 to 9.
I don't like that light. It's too bright.
It's only 20 to 9.
Okay, I hear you.
Okay.
But change the light fixture.
Turn it close.
Here. No, this light. Turn this light on. I just don't like the light.
No, we can't. It's too bright.
This one is
no,
a different color.
No, it's too bright.
You're too loud.
You're too loud. You're being a pain in the butt. Leave the light on. This is what we do. This is the routine.
Yeah.
This is the routine.
Why are you raising your voice again? Stop it. I'm not a child, okay? Go. I'm not a child. God. Talking about it. No, I'm not behaving like a child. You are, because you're not getting your light.
You're not getting your way.
I put up with the light. You don't. You're in your bedroom.
Rob, close your door.
Oh, go away. Will you go away? Please.
Repton. Sigurd should be here with the Ragnarsons.
Stay still.
Please.
Who stands before Ivar Ragnarsson? Are you Sigurd Drenger? Igor!
Eivor. If you keep that up, you'll stain the floors.
The place could use some color.
Who are they?
All spies. Dressed to look the part of a peasant. Got feisty. Pitchfork. From this rabid little man. Was a time when you met and slew your enemy on the field before they could dream of things like sending spies!
And now we shake hands, make deals.
Not my thing.
I figured.
I love them whipped, weeping, and reeking of piss. Hey! Good boy. You're free, Saxon piggy, to run amok through the Mercian fields.
I would have let him down easy.
Follow me. I'll give you the tour.
What do you call this place?
I call it the shithole. To the Mercians, it is Repton. Their most revered kings are buried below the church. Imagine their weeping when we drove them out.
You plunged your knife deep into the heart of this kingdom.
That is right. We've got a number of Saxon nobles lined up with their lips puckered, ready to kiss our asses. The only holdout is King Burgred and his warthane, Leofrid. But my brother is brewing a plan to deal with them.
I take it that's where we'll find my brother.
Right. Talkers they are, Uba and Sigurd. Might want to dig the wax from your ears.
Don't play me for a fool, Abba. I know Burgred sent a Vergelder. I'm not going anywhere, Bagrat. You have the king on his heels because of me. Because of my men.
For which you were paid. But that price does not change because you have caught a whiff of our Hacksilver hoard.
You forget I am a sellsword. I ask what I please, and I take what I'm owed.
If I wanted to hear you talk shit, I'd gouge out your tongue and shove it up your ass. Now fuck off.
Haggling over silver is a bad look for the son of Ragnar Lothbrok. But worry not, Uba. I have the warriors you need.
This is one of them. My worries have vanished.
Eivor, Wolf-Kissed, you have come at just the right time. Uba and Ivar here are hunting a king.
And when we've caught him, we mean to crown another. Our dear Thane Shellwolf here. It's not a role I begged for, but it's what Mercia needs just now. A man to fairly rule both Saxons and Danes.
Do you have what it takes to be king?
One day, I hope. As it stands, we at least have an understanding. The king has refused our offers of peace. Jailwolf means to change that. There'll be a new king for a new England.
For now, Burgred is holed up in his fortress at Tamworth, making a final stand.
Another shithole. Only further south.
We've held a siege there for weeks to no effect. So, no more knocking. Now we batter the gate to splinters. If we take Tamworth, remove Burgred and crown Jailwolf, come morning the Shire is ours. And Mercia soon after. Yes, remove. I cannot stress that enough. Burgred is not to be harmed. My legitimacy as king hangs on this one simple fact.
You rob all the joy from war, Saxon.
Not every victory needs to be marked by the slaughter of a king.
But it is much better.
His request is fair, Ivar, and we will honor it.
Jailwolf betrayed his present king. Maybe tomorrow he betrays us too. Why trust him?
How can I answer that with any hope that you'd believe me? I only want what is best for the people of Mercia. And I want what's best for my son. In Burgred's Mercia, where Danes and Saxons murder one another daily, it's not possible.
This is a good plan, brother. I am ready for the coming fight.
Agreed. Yet remember this. Whatever you stand to gain here, so do we. An alliance between my clan and Mercia's crown.
See this man installed on his throne and you will have it. I swear.
The bold sons of Ragnar bellow to sound the spear din and the thunder of shields. So let fall the arrow storm. The battle begins.
Ah! You never said this one was a poet.
I need to piss.
We have a forward camp just north of Tamworth. Will you go with us?
Lead the way.
Take in the sights of Repton if you like. We'll be at the docks when you are ready to go. I'm glad you and your brother have come, if only to bring some measure of calm.
Ease yourself, Jailwolf. We all stand to benefit. And you'll be remembered for this for years to come.
For all the wrong reasons, I fear.
A lively town. Quite a lot to see here. Have a look, Sunan.
Slegin í miðjum bæjum. Misræði búlkars. Eiga þeir að færa einn mikið af silfri í ár. Mun ekki eigi hlusta að bæla nýjar öxar þá eigum að kaupa.
Hér blótuð hana hollar vættir. Hér þurfum við í þvílíks erfitt. Helst þegar ættum við að fara skjótt.
Einn allan dag. Á tröstum frá gamla bæjum.
That's a good one. You look so strong and powerful. Yes, this will strike fear into the hearts of your enemies. This would look very fetching. Leaving already? Shut.
I'm off. Be well, friend.
What can I tempt you with? I can always use more of that. Thank you. I always need more of these. Oh, good. Just what I was looking for. Until next we meet.
No, I'm not done with you yet, Ming. I want this tree. I can't buy the tree yet. What's a mead barrel? Schematics for a settlement decoration. Red dragon. Marital runestone scheme.
Unbelievable. I hope to see you again soon.
Bye. I'll see you later, yeah. Oh, yeah. I see you later, yeah. Oh, wait a second. Should I buy some arrows?
See you soon.
I'm gonna have to stock up on some shit, man. Where's the arrows? This guy is a climber. Oh, I just missed it.
Some of us are staying behind, as I hear.
Half the army's already in Tamworth. We've now got help from the south. It's our lot to look after this place now, to protect her.
Shame. Wanted to see the look on Burgred's face when we stormed his fortress. Now we'll just hear big tales, told by drunken here.
Get in there. There's gold nearby. I need a gold.
See, now he's roosting.
Yeah.
See?
You know, I've already had a routine for him, like the
now
lights.
I have the night routine. You don't.
I should.
I don't. You do.
I don't. You do. You said it. I don't. You do. There you go. You don't.
Now I start to dim the lights. Dim the lights in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Turn the lights off here in the kitchen, and I turn the lights on in the living room.
There you go. Your little routine.
See? There we go.
Good job. Good job. Oh, how come I can't take control of this ship? This is not my ship. What the hell?
soon.
Oh yeah. Traveling. That's not good. Speak with Uber. Speak with Uber. This is an ongoing fucking list dancing. You know they danced.
Sail southeast. Bring the men to the gates of Tamwa. We'll flood the fields, and Burgred shall weep at the sight of what the future holds for this kingdom. Eivor, is your axe sharpened?
I'm ready for the spear din.
Thunder of shields. Yes. It's good to have you with us.
To fight beside such legends is an honor. I've only heard tales of your conquests. Now I get to live them.
We'll weave our sagas together. Thread upon thread.
Come on, boy. We'll forge a man from your softness, hammered on the anvil of war.
You don't need to fight to be
Move!
Hello, Uva.
Fight's not here.
Aye. The fight is nowhere to be found in this boy.
A boy who happens to be Gelwolf's son. Why is he not in his quarters?
Our future king wants a battle-hardened heir. Time he proves his worth, don't you think?
Not yet crowned king and already grooming his successor. That shows some boldness.
Right. And bold kings need bolder sons.
Ivar!
He comes with us. And should anything happen to this little sprout, I will bear the punishment our future king inflicts.
He'll want to remove your head.
Haha, you hear that, boy? You die, and I'll have to kill your father, too.
Mount up, Abel. It's a long ride to Tamworth.
You'll have to endure, my brother. He always finds new ways to humor himself.
I'll keep that in mind.
Both eyes open.
You smell that, jailbird? The stink of jealousy, of our budding friendship, I think.
What is Ceolwulf's son doing in Repton at all?
It's Ceolwulf's way of proving his loyalty. And there's no safer place for a traitor and his son. In the middle of a pack of
Say from who? You and Ivar seem to have brought this Shire to hell.
Fears are with us, common folk. Burgred still has his soldiers, all are devoted to him. And they'll die defending him.
Your voice, Eivor. You sound different than the brothers.
Good ear, Lord. Most in England cannot tell the difference. But not all Danes are Danes.
From where do you come, if I may ask?
North of the Danelands. A place called Funbeck, in Norway.
I didn't know that.
Well met. Information. I have it. Do you need it? Where is the matter of my fee?
No.
Another time, then.
I didn't know there was land north of there. What are the people like?
You ever see a herd of sheep follow each other off the edge?
A good traveler. What seek you? Perhaps I can help. My prices are competitive.
No, thank you.
Oh, what the fuck?
Ever see a herd of sheep follow each other off the edge of a cliff? They're like that. The ones who remained, anyway.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Was it a mass exodus from Norway?
Softened my brow fire. If I'm honest, I realize I quite admire King Harald. By words and by weapons both. He has pacified the country I call home. For the first time in any man's memory, or any skald's song, Norway has one king. Just one.
Here!
Look at these pagan rats. Ravenous, unseemly beasts teeming over holy ground.
Have a care, Lord. These pagan rats outnumber us.
I can see that, fool. What do we do about them?
I advise we strongly consider their demands, Lord. We won't survive a fight.
Is that you, Leofrid? How quickly you recover! I'm beginning to wonder if it is a man or a god beneath all that armor.
A man of God stands before you, Eva, proud and resolute.
That's Burgred's war thane. Killed a dozen of our men in an ambush along the River Trent. It was Ivar's axe that stopped him.
That is a poor description of a perfect 30-yard toss.
Enough jawing, heathens! Speak your piece!
We've come for your crown, Lord.
With or without your head attached.
I admire your ambition, pagan. But what you ask is impossible. No Dane ever has or ever will occupy Mercia's sacred throne.
Would you settle for a Norse? We're not as gentle, but we're much better poets.
Norse, Dane, dog, you're all the same to me. All godless.
My king, may I suggest a more measured approach to this?
I grow weary of this palaver. You have trampled our lands, toppled our monuments. We've given you silver, fed your people. And yet in spite of all this, your encroachment on my kingdom continues. No more! We will die defending what is ours, whatsoever the cost. If you want my crown, Uber Ragnarsson, you must pry it from the hands of my bloodless corpse. Man the walls!
Uber Ragnarsson.
Back to the camp. Round up the men. We're taking Tamworth tonight. Eivor, tell the captain we're ready to march. Eivor and I will round up the men. You know your way around a battle.
I've seen them in action.
I want you at the helm of ours. Strong.
I'll be there.
What's got your attention?
Hey! Roll driver! Roll driver!
Rest from rattling skulls. Rattle these.
Who are you? I'm with the Ragnarsons. It's time to roll out the battering ram.
Burgred wanted to fight. Now we'll give him one. Are you ready to march now?
Let's go. It's time to capture a kingdom.
What are we going to do about him?
Jailbeth. Something wrong.
I know these men, Eivor. I've supped with them. Not 2 weeks ago, Leofrid showed me how to wield a greatsword. He's a friend.
Friendships end often at the point of a spear.
It can cannot be that cold. Least of all with Leofrith. He is only following orders.
When the match begins, find an empty tent and stay there.
Do not think me a coward. I am not afraid of war. I do not want to kill my friends.
There's no other way. Fight or hide. It's up to you. Destroy the gate!
Slaughter the soldiers. Leave the king to me. Forward! Push forward! Put up a fight!
Oh, we're almost through, guys. Come on, one more. Bring it back. Charge! Oh, damn it, we're almost through. Charge! Yeah, we're through. Thank you. You want to watch this? It's pretty good. Come on. Come on.
To die. With me, brother. I'd like for that. Fill your brain. Your time's up, kid!
I'll kill you!
Too easy!
Die!
Follow my lead! Follow my lead! Your time's up, kid!
Come on, stop doing that.
Feel your brain!
We did it. We did it. We did it. We did it. Oh, yeah. We did it. Let's go get the spoils.
It's over, Burgrit. Lay down your weapons and surrender.
We did it.
Take 3 men and search the rear. Look around. See what you can find. I'll send for Chaelwolf. Tell him we found a throne.
Ah, that was a good scuffle, hmm? But I did notice we were short one athlete. Where was the son of...
A chronicle of payments made. Like a ledger. There's a symbol here. Clan emblem, maybe. The brothers should see this.
Oh, I can read that. Fuck. Where was that again? Oh. Did I read it again? Huh.
Ivar, I found a letter. There's a symbol here. Your men have any luck?
Nothing. You?
This. Do you know that symbol?
Tana Sigil. It seems she's been dealing with Burgred as well. The wretch.
She was the mercenary barking at you in Repton, yes? She's playing both sides of this war.
She could have told him anything. Told him secrets about me, about Repton, our plan.